My name is Tanya Curry, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report. It's entitled, Wake Up, South Africa, Check Your Bias, The Reason. Nandos said it best, Wat gaan aan? I left you for 1 week. I put my soul under the ocean and swam with apex predators, and it was sublime, until I broke the surface and gave my final okay.
Eskom has lost 10 power station units on Saturday and overnight into Sunday, causing the implementation of stage 10 load shedding, stage 6 load shedding rather.
Stage 6 load shedding. Zero budget and the rebirth of apartheid. If you look up the word treason in the Mirriam Webster dictionary, you'll find the following. Treason, a noun, the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill or overthrow the sovereign or government. The punishment for treason in South Africa? 25 to 30 years in prison, apparently. Did AfriForum and Solidariteit, or whatever these white supremacists call themselves, commit treason? Well, let's unpack this and you decide. Did they betray our country? Going to Trump, waxing lyrical about a genocide on white farmers that doesn't exist is probably classified as betrayal. Did they attempt to kill or overthrow the sovereign government of South Africa? Well, they asked for Trump to lay charges and punish Ramaphosa, the democratic leader of the country. So I suppose that is a yes, too. I know I'm going to get hammered for drawing this to the nation's attention, but I want to put it to you that they have the wrong genocide. Let me explain it in English that even Kali can understand. There are 75 people murdered a day in South Africa.
If you juggle numbers and you divide it, so you get that 75. But in reality, it's not necessarily like that.
These are just ordinary South Africans trying to make it safely through another day in a democratic country. Would you call that a genocide or is that a war? There are 100 people murdered in the West Bank every day. Is that a genocide or is that a war? Check your bias. I wrote a piece titled The War is Here, Naledi, and I still maintain that we are in a state of war in our country. When the crime stats drop by 10% on murder rates and you're still counting 70 murdered people a day, we are certainly in need of help. That's the genocide we are concerned with, Cully and Flip. Why didn't you tell Trump that? Let's imagine that AfriForum actually cared about South Africa. They would have addressed this massive elephant in the room. Ask them, and they'd say they do address crime. It's the biggest driver for their organization. AfriForum is not a political party, it's a pyramid scheme. You have to pay a membership, and you can't have a membership in isolation. You have to have a head honcho or a satellite office in your area. You have to buy AfriForum's walkie-talkies, AfriForum's cameras, and AfriForum merch to get any protection from AfriForum. Sounds a bit like AfriForum protection money, doesn't it? Don't hate on me, I just call it like I see it. Check your bias. Let's move from wat gaan aan to hoekom gaan dit aan? Because the white genocide thing really doesn't make sense. Why is this actually happening? What is the reason? I know how mad people get when I talk about two things, the Afrikaner folk and Israel's ethnic cleansing of Palestine. It's my unlucky week because these stories have converged.
Fact is, I just had a meeting with congressmen that said they've been monitoring what is happening in South Africa for many years now. They saw when former Minister Naledi Pandor had a photo opportunity with the Iranian Prime Minister or leader. They saw a number of actions from South Africa, and that is why they decided to act. These people that say we should not come here, we should just deny that everything is happening, think that's going to solve the problem. It's not going to solve it. It's going to make it worse. When we actually spoke to these House of Representatives members and told them, no, South Africa is saying it's just a big misunderstanding, it was actually, they laughed because they said, well, these are the facts. And I have a huge list that was taken up in a bill to review their relationship with South Africa.
What is that list,
So they
Carly?
know these things.
What is in that list?
Well,
Because we haven't even touched on expropriation. You've gone to relations with countries in the Middle East and a picture that Naledi Pandor took with the Iranian Prime Minister. So what is in that list of what they've been watching in South Africa?
And the loyal thing for us to do, to fight for the people of South Africa, is to say we need to stop this. We tried to speak to the president locally. He simply ignored us.
So,
and hopefully the pressure would make them rethink on the terrible route they take in South Africa.
I need to just step in the interest of time here, Kali. You mentioned it in the list of concerns that have been watched by the U.S. government over years. You talk about utterances by Julius Malema that you say the U.S. believes encourage the killing of the farmer. But did you, in that interaction then with the administration representatives, mention and clarify the statistics around farm murders? In fact, stats just last week that show that, and these are police stats, that show that one farmer was killed in the third quarter of 2024-2025. One.
Yes, that's exactly the problem, that we have this misinformation from the Minister of Police. AfriForum has a list of all the farmers that were killed over the last 3 months. It is a total lie. We can give people names of people that were killed in this time. We can tell you about the tortures that they underwent. And this is exactly what makes us angry and what leads to a situation that we have to come here. Because locally there's denialism. Locally the president refuses to speak to us or he ignores our letters when they do negotiate with us on the Anti-Afrikaans Bella Act.
Kali Kriel told us with certainty that South Africa was interfering with other countries by taking Israel to the ICJ. The interviewer stopped him and asked what this has to do with the Afrikaans cause. And he said, well, it's just one of the many things that the ANC and Ramaphosa should be held accountable for. Please tell me you see it. If you disagree with me, ask yourself this question. What has South Africa's Bella Act or Expropriation Act got to do with America? That's all I want to know. Be mindful when you answer this question because we are in a democracy, ne? Check your bias. I've had a pretty rough media week. Headlines spilled over into my friend circle and I found myself questioning my sanity repeatedly. I took to Grok, Musk's new AI. I know, I hate the chop, but I thought, let me go straight to the beast and see what he has to say about wat gaan aan. My question was, why do you think America is so heavily politically involved in South Africa today? Consider the following situations in your argument. AfriForum's Washington memorandum about the plight of the Afrikaans nation, the possibility of a BRICS currency and the impact on the dollar, and include the fact that SA headed up the ICJ submission and subsequently Netanyahu and others were declared war criminals in the ICJ ruling. It's a long and detailed response with supporting articles and posts. I won't share the whole thing. You can do it yourself. Here's Grok's response. The ICJ case as a single biggest driver makes sense. The US response does smell strongest of payback for South Africa's genocide case against Israel. That December 2023 filing at the ICJ didn't just irritate the USA, it hit a nerve with their Israel first policy. Trump's aid cut in February 2025, 440 million yanked, came right after South Africa refused to back off, with Foreign Minister Lamola saying no chance they'd drop it. The timing's too tight and the rhetoric too pointed to not see it as the main spark. Rubio skipping the G20 meeting in Johannesburg days later, with the White House calling South Africa's ICJ stance aggressive, seals the deal. Israel's their red line. The farmer thing, land expropriation without compensation, feels more like a throw-in. Sure, AfriForum's been loud, and Trump's order for offering Afrikaner farmers refugee status nods to the MAGA crowd, but it's been simmering since 2018, when South Africa's parliament started pushing it. Why blow it up now unless it's a handy excuse? The US doesn't tank a decade-old partnership over farmland nostalgia or trade talks alone. It's the courtroom shot at their ally that stung the most. Well, I'll give it to Krusty Musty. His own machine rumbled him. I also asked if this campaign against South Africa is orchestrated using Bell Pottinger-type tactics. You can guess what the response is. Who is really behind all of this? What is the reason? I can't believe my whole column is again dedicated to the dramatic duo in the White House. There was Elon, in dark glasses, blinked like a rapper, jaw tight, stuttering his words and wielding a chainsaw across the stage with the Argentinian president. He was high as a kite, he was strung up, he was wired, he was tweaked and hanging.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw! So,
that was something.
I am become meme.
I have a question for America.
Yeah, pretty much.
What has Elon Musk got to do with America? He's not a true American. He got his citizenship in 2002. He's not a South African out of his own mouth. And he has Canadian citizenship.
Oh, Canada.
The 51st state. When did Americans vote this ketamine-pumped megalomaniac billionaire into power? When? This oak got all the federal employees to write an email with 5 things they achieved this week. But he made the dire error of releasing the email address for the responses. And you can guess what happened next. I emailed him too. Like I said, for me, this has just become personal. And I hate that. I thought that we'd move past this nonsense, and then Nota comes out and calls white people subhuman.
The problem that South Africans have right now is that we don't understand white people. White people are inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens. They've got Neanderthal blood in them. This is the science, and this is not science that was done by black people. It was done by them.
He's been charged as he should be. I wonder how much he got paid. Nota is irrelevant. Why are we even listening to him? But this is what's been happening. Our algorithms are bringing up old hate speech from as far back as 20 years ago and making people believe that it happened yesterday. Afri Forum and many white South Africans are calling BEE and other laws racist. Astonishing. Do you remember that it was Tata Mandela who came up with that set of laws? The same Tata who told the black South Africans to put down their pangas, as this was no time for revenge, but time to build a rainbow nation? I know, that was 30 years ago, and has it worked? Yes and no. I agree it's only made some rich, and generally they were wealthy anyway, but that doesn't mean that it can't work. Our application is flawed, and we have to vote out the criminals that are responsible. The GNU, as much as you loathe to admit it, is working. Did you see Enoch Knock?
I'm glad you took the question about the commissioner. You answered it much better than I would have been able to.
Oh no, I was worried I should not be angry.
No, you wanted to go. No, but you did well. Yeah.
No,
you did well.
No, he's making me angry.
Yes, it's what can it?
I said, we're discussing, even here, he comes up with this rubbish. I said, how will it help me on the 19th, even now on the 12th?
Yes.
He did not know that we've made provision for him for 3.5 in the new arrangement.
Yeah.
But that 3.5 now is gone.
Yes, no, all right, you finally keep. What happened in the end?
No, neither did I. And that was because the whole of the GNU said that the idea of VAT increase was ludicrous. That's a working democracy, and as tedious and frustrating as it is, we chose this. Check your bias. I haven't covered any other news. You'll have to forgive me for not talking about the terrible flooding and the wildfires, or that our wounded soldiers are finally home, but battalion is still in the Congo. Some of them are pregnant. Yep, I know, too many questions. We haven't spoken about the horror story that is Zanzu restaurant and how this is the same restaurant owner who Mitali exposed at Babel. I haven't told you about the ridiculous debacle at Sasa or that the soapers were lackluster. To be fair, you didn't miss much there. That mayor who was charged with corruption, remember him, Gwamande? He saw the state withdraw all its charges. Yep, we've been played. I have one story that will make you watch this week's video, and that is Hero School's war cry. If you're struggling to find your gears, watch that, and I promise you, you're going to feel better.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Wow.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Sorry, number one, fish or praise, not food. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Also, in little reported news, Dali filibustering Mpofu's son was arrested. I hope he knows a good lawyer. And then over the waters again, this time to Rome, where the Pope remains in critical condition. We also heard that Zelensky capitulated after Trump called him a dictator, which is a case in point because yesterday Trump said he didn't think that he actually said that.
A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left.
Mr. President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
Trump is on roids, man. He is traveling at the rate of knots. He put up a poster of himself with a crown on his head and called himself King Trump. He shared the most revolting video on his social media channel with an AI announcing Trump Gaza.
Donald is coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza number one. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza number one.
I dismissed this video 4 times before a major news network said it was true. The video shows a golden statue of Trump, think like end of time vibes, in a region named Trump Gaza. Trump and Netanyahu are sipping cocktails on the beach and Elon is chucking money in the air. There are even bearded belly dancers wearing Hamas headscarves. I don't make this stuff up. I read the news so you don't have to. And around the same time, someone in the White House released an AI video of Trump licking Elon's bare feet with a title, Long Live the Real King. Wat gaan aan? Israel increased incursions into Syria because it's on their borders. I'm not even kidding. There are 1,000 people dead this week in Jenin and 40,000 displaced as the tanks roll into the West Bank where there is no Hamas and no hostages. Talking about hostages, Israel scored the biggest PR own goal this week as hostage Omar Shem Tov kissed not one but 2 Hamas soldiers on the head. This after he gave a thumbs up to a roaring crowd and smiled broadly. Because of this, Bibi violated the ceasefire agreement again. This is twice in 1 week. We also witnessed a horrific display of 2 Israeli children's coffins and watched timelines fill with orange hearts for the 2 ginger-haired littlies. I've run out of words, but I will wrap this up by telling you to check out our weekly video where we count the number of times Trump and Macron touch each other during a meeting about Ukraine. It's funny and it will cheer you up. Unlike the news that Roberta Flack passed on and that Gene Hackman, his wife and his dog were all found dead yesterday. No foul play is suspected, unlike the rest of my column. Please take the weekend off, bump fists with a person of colour, say not in my name, and keep taking care of each other. And for those of you that want to join the circus, please take a form and remember to take your black pen. I'm Tonya Curry. Thank you for scratching the surface with me and Acumen Media.